Hello, my fellow readers. This is Leo, and today we will be reading Flat Stanley. Show and Tell Flat Stanley. This is an I Can Read book. Before we get started, be sure to like and subscribe because these videos take a lot of effort. And be sure to follow along as we read Flat Stanley. Show and Tell Flat Stanley. Created by Jeff Brown. By Lori Haskin Horan. Pictures by Mackie Pamintuan. Stanley Lambtrap lived with his mother, his father, and his little brother, Arthur. Stanley was 4 feet tall, about a foot wide, and half an inch thick. He had been flat ever since a bulletin board fell on him. Stanley's family was used to him being flat. They didn't think much about it, except when Mrs. Lambtrap needed to clean behind the fridge, or when Mr. Lambtrap forgot his house key, which happens to be quite a bit. To the Lambtraps, Stanley was perfectly normal. That's why Stanley was surprised when Arthur asked, "Can I take you to the show and tell?" Stanley frowned. "You mean because I'm so good at wiggling your ears?" said Arthur. "Miss Plum really wants to see it." "Oh," said Stanley. "Sure, if Miss Plum said so." Stanley felt his face turning pink. It always turned pink when Miss Plum's teacher came up. When Miss Plum's name came up. Miss Plum was the prettiest teacher in the whole school. "Thanks, Stanley," said Arthur. "No problem," said Stanley. "That's what brothers are for." Arthur smiled to himself. He knew the real reason Stanley was going to the show and tell, but he didn't say a word. At school, Arthur's classmates took turns showing and telling. Sophie showed her mouse Squeakers. "He just loves cheese," she said. Manny held up his grandpa's false teeth. "My grandpa loves cheese too." Arthur introduced Stanley, who wiggled his ears like crazy. "My goodness," said Miss Plum. "Today, I have something for show and tell too," Miss Plum added shyly. She held up her left hand. A big ring sparkled on her finger. "I'm getting married," said Miss Plum. Stanley felt his heart sink. Miss Plum? Married? The other kids jumped up and crowded around to look at Miss Plum's ring. "Let me see," said Sophie. She bumped into Manny. Squeakers slipped out of her hands. "Ouch! Watch it!" He dropped his grandpa's teeth. The false teeth bounced twice, then clamped onto Squeakers' tail. "Weak!" squeaked Squeakers. He took off running. "Oh dear!" cried Miss Plum. She reached out to grab Squeakers, and her new ring flew off her finger. To Stanley, the ring seemed to move in slow motion. He watched it sail toward Squeakers and fall straight down over the mouse's head, where it landed like a sparkly collar around his neck. Poor Squeakers squeaked again and ran even faster. He zipped across the classroom, scampered up a bookcase, and vanished through a crack in the ceiling tile. My mouse! Cried Sophie. My grandpa's teeth! Cried Manny. My ring! Cried Miss Plum. Stanley stood up. I'll save you, Miss Plum. I'll save your ring! And Squeakers and the teeth. Stanley raced to the spot where Squeaker had vanished. Arthur, he said, that crack in the ceiling. It's like our window at home. Give me a boost. On the count of 3, said Arthur. 1, 2, 3. With a grunt, Arthur pushed Stanley high over his head, as he had done a dozen times before. Mr. Lambchop really forgot his keys a lot. Stanley slid through the crack. I see Squeakers! Stanley yelled. Come here, boy, come on! Below, the students heard crashing and thrashing as Stanley chased the mouse over their heads. Go, Stanley, go! Yelled Manny. It's no use, Stanley said, panting. He's too fast. Then Arthur thought of something. Sophie, where's Squeaker's cheese? Right here, she said. Arthur grabbed a slice and flung it through the crack. Stanley, try this! The crashing stopped. The thrashing stopped. Then class saw Stanley's arm poke through the ceiling crack. Squeaker sat on his hand, happily nibbling the cheese. Stanley's other arm poked out. The false teeth and ring dangled from his arms. The last of all came Stanley himself, stretching out of the crack like a boy-sized strip of taffy. Oh, Stanley, said Miss Plum, once he was safely on the ground. You are my hero. She gave Stanley a big hug. Stanley felt his face turn pink, bright pink. What's wrong with Stanley? Asked Sophie. Arthur grinned. His face always turns pink when... Then Arthur stopped. He looked at Stanley. When he's been wiggling his ears, he said. Thanks, Arthur, whispered Stanley. No problem, said Arthur. That's what brothers are for. The end. I hope you enjoyed the book Flat Stanley, Show and Tell Flat Stanley. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you